Lesson 17, Subject-Verb Agreement with Complex Subjects and Quantifiers. Now that you've got a good idea of how subject-verb agreement works with some of the tricky nouns in the English language, let's look at a few more confusing cases involving complex subjects, clauses, and quantifiers. Try to guess the answers while you're watching the video so you can test your natural sense for English grammar. We'll start with complex subjects. Sometimes the subject of a sentence is not so clear-cut. Which verb do you think is the right one in each of these cases? The reason I bought these books is or are so that I can improve my vocabulary. The kids playing with the dog in the park is or are happy. The best movie out of all the summer films was or were Transformers. All the friends that I made at the conference has or have kept in touch. One thing that all of these sentences have in common is that the verb is separated from the subject by quite a few descriptive words. But the verb always matches the original subject, even if the word right before the verb is different. So, for example, the reason I bought these books is so that I can improve my vocabulary. The subject of the sentence is reason, and it's singular, so we also use the singular form of the verb, is, even though the word right before it, books, is plural. The singular verb matches the singular subject. The kids playing with the dog in the park are happy. Again, the main subject of the sentence is kids. That's plural, so we use the plural form of the verb, are. The best movie out of all the summer films was Transformers. The subject, movie, is singular, so we use the singular verb was. All the friends that I made at the conference have kept in touch. Again, friends is plural, so we use the plural form of the verb, have. So, if in doubt, just ask yourself, what's the main subject of this sentence, and make the verb match it. Sometimes a clause describing the subject is set off by commas, so it's a little easier to identify. For example, my parents' marriage, despite all its problems, has lasted for 30 years. The main subject of this sentence is marriage, and the clause, despite all its problems, simply describes the main subject, marriage. These shoes, which I got for my birthday last year, are made of leather. Again, we have a plural subject, shoes, and a plural verb, are. The phrase in the commas, which I got for my birthday last year, simply describes the main subject. Here's another situation. What do you do if the subject itself is a clause? Try to identify the correct verb in each of these sentences. Whoever made these cookies is or are very talented. However you choose to solve these problems is or are fine with me. Having children has or have been a wonderful experience. What I'd like to see is or are more effort on your part. What we really needed was or were some volunteers. In almost every case, the answer is the singular verb. The subject of the first sentence is not cookies, but instead, whoever made these cookies. So the correct verb is. Whoever made these cookies is very talented. And the subject of the second sentence is not you, but instead, however you choose to solve these problems. So we say, however you choose to solve these problems is fine with me. When the subject is an entire clause, then we usually use the singular verb. That applies even if the word immediately before the verb is plural, as in having children has been, or however you choose to solve the problems is fine. The only exception is in sentences starting with what. We will study this inverted sentence structure in more depth later in the course, but the general rule is to use a singular verb when the following main noun is singular and a plural verb when the following main noun is plural. For example, what I'd like to see is more effort on your part. The word effort is singular, so we use the singular verb is. What we really needed were some volunteers. The noun volunteers is plural, so we use the plural verb were. However, in informal spoken English, people sometimes use a singular verb even when the main noun is plural. For example, what we really needed was some volunteers. Now let's look at quantifiers. Quantifiers are words that tell us something about how much, quantity. They are words like all, each, every, any, a lot of, none of, a number of, both, either, and neither. The rules governing whether to use a singular or plural verb with them are a bit complicated. I will break it down into 4 main situations. Remember to guess the answer first, and then I'll show you what is correct and why. Situation number 1. Guess the right verb for these sentences. Both of my brothers is or are tall. A lot of these apples is or are rotten. All of the students has or have passed. Some of the people was or were upset. None of my plans is or are working out. In every case, the correct answer is the plural verb. Both of my brothers are tall. A lot of these apples are rotten. All of the students have passed. Some of the people were upset. None of my plans are working out. The rule is when you have a quantifier plus a plural noun or pronoun, the verb is always plural. Some of the people were upset, or some of them were upset. All of us have passed. Those apples are okay, but a lot of these are rotten. There is one thing to be careful of regarding the phrase a number of. When you say a number of plus a plural noun, the verb is plural. But when you say the number of plus a plural noun, then the verb is singular because the subject of the sentence becomes number. For example, a number of companies are going bankrupt. In this sentence, the subject is companies. That's plural, so we use the plural form of the verb, are. But if you say, the number of companies going bankrupt is increasing, now the subject of the sentence is the number, and that's singular, so we use the singular form of the verb, is. Situation number 2. Which verb is correct in these sentences? One of the pages in this book is or are missing. Each of the winners was or were given a trophy. Each gift was or were carefully wrapped. Every product come or comes with a guarantee. For these sentences, the correct answer is always the singular form of the verb. One of the pages in this book is missing. Each of the winners was given a trophy. Each gift was carefully wrapped. Every product comes with a guarantee. The quantifiers one of, each or each of, and every are used with a singular verb. We are talking about one out of many, or each member of a group, emphasizing individuality, so we use the singular, regardless of whether the noun is singular or plural. For example, each gift is, or each of the gifts is. With the word each, we always use the singular form of the verb. We do have a slight exception in the expression one of those people who or that. When we are putting somebody into a general category of people, we can use a singular or plural verb. For example, she's one of those people who take everything too personally, or she's one of those people who takes everything too personally. He's one of those people who never call or calls you back. Both forms are correct. Situation number 3. How about this situation? Which is the right verb in these sentences? All of the furniture is or are new. Some of my stuff is or are in the attic. None of his advice was or were helpful. A little bit of research has or have been done. You might have noticed that all the main nouns, furniture, stuff, advice, and research, are uncountable. With uncountable nouns, we always use a singular verb. So the correct answers are, all of the furniture is new. Some of my stuff is in the attic. None of his advice was helpful. A little bit of research has been done. This means that some of the same quantifiers can be used with different verbs, depending on the noun. For example, all of the furniture is new. Furniture is uncountable, so it needs a singular verb. All of the chairs are new. Chairs is countable and plural, so it needs a plural verb. None of the stuff was valuable. Again, stuff is uncountable, so it needs a singular verb. None of the items were valuable. Items is countable and plural, so it needs a plural verb. Situation number 4. We'll end this lesson with what might be the trickiest case of all, either and neither. Try to pick the correct verb. Neither of those athletes has or have ever won a gold medal. Either Bill or Bob is or are going to teach the class. Neither the employees nor the manager is or are at fault. Neither the manager nor the employees is or are at fault. Technically, the correct answer to the first one is has. Either of and neither of should take a singular verb. For example, neither of those athletes has ever won a gold medal. But in practice, many people use the plural form, especially when it's a pronoun. Neither of them are going to win. Neither of us want to have an argument. You could also say, neither of them is going to win, and neither of us wants to have an argument. Both are pretty common. When you have either or and neither nor, the rules are, when both items are singular, use a singular verb. For example, either Bill or Bob is going to teach the class. Bill is singular and Bob is singular, so we use the singular verb is. Neither the shirt nor the jacket was the right size. Again, we have two singular items, shirt and jacket, so we use a singular verb, was. Now, when one of the items is plural, we often make the verb match the second one mentioned. For example, neither the employees nor the manager is at fault. The second one mentioned is the manager, and that's singular, so we use the singular form is. But if you switch the order and say neither the manager nor the employees are at fault, then the second one mentioned is the employees, that's plural, and we use the plural form of the verb, are. Let's summarize the main points we learned in today's lesson. In complex subjects, the verb always matches the main noun. For example, the kids playing with the dog in the park are happy. When the subject is a clause, we usually use a singular verb. For example, whoever made these cookies is very talented. When the subject is a what clause, then the verb matches the main noun that follows it. Quantifiers plus plural nouns need a plural verb. For example, some of the students are tired. The exception is one of, each or each of, and every, which always take a singular verb. For example, one of the students is tired. Quantifiers plus uncountable nouns need a singular verb. For example, some of his advice is good. Either of and neither of are often used with both singular and plural verbs. And when using either or and neither nor, the verb matches the second item, which is closest to the verb. You've finished Lesson 17. Now continue to today's practice exercises and writing task.